for the last 4 or 5 months, we've been using the phrase post-COVID, but now we have to revisit that as once again, negative headlines and cases have been climbing as well. It's had an impact on the market here. Joining us to talk about the variants and the role of vaccines and protecting us from those, as well as the future of AstraZeneca, is the President of Biopharmaceuticals and Executive Vice President Ruud Dobber joins us. Ruud, great to have you here this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
You guys just had earnings recently. You, at the beginning of the year and last year, had this deal with Alexion. You just closed that up a couple months ago, but right now everyone's mind is focused on the variants of the virus. Can you give us an idea at AstraZeneca how your team is thinking about these variants, thinking about the status of the virus right now, especially as it pertains obviously to your vaccine program?
No, absolutely, and thank you for asking me this question. First of all, we are quite proud as a company of what we have delivered so far. And last week, during our earnings call, we told the investors and other shareholders about what we have done and that we are proud to have delivered 1 billion doses to the world. But equally, of course, we cannot ignore that the variants of concern, especially the Delta variant, is a substantial concern. I think the good news is that all the vaccines at the moment are showing a good protection against this variant. So hopefully more and more people will vaccinate themselves. But equally, AstraZeneca is looking also into the future, and hence we try to improve our vaccine. Our researchers, together with the Oxford University, are trying to develop a better version with a higher protection against those variants. It's a little bit too early to see what is coming out of that. We need to do clinical studies, but all hands on deck in order to improve the vaccine even more so that we are getting better protected moving forward.
And Ruud, the timeline, is there any update? From what I understand, it looks like this year at some point within the fall, maybe we'd get an update on the potential for the need for a booster or what those studies have shown?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's reasonable. Somewhere at the end of this year, hopefully we have more insights in whether this version is a new version. Now, once again, I would like to re-emphasize that what we have seen with our current vaccine is a very high protection as well. So the same is true for the other vaccine. So a big call to all the people in the world, if the vaccine is available, to get vaccinated, because that's the only way we can protect ourselves against potential more dangerous variants moving forward.
What do we know, Ruud, about those potentially more dangerous variants? There's a pretty alarming cover in Newsweek that there could be a doomsday variant. I mean, do we need to be in that state of mind that there's a possibility of something that will not respond to vaccines? What is the confidence level that no matter what variant we get, we'll have something to address it?
Yeah, that's another great question, and we simply don't know. And we can only hope, but we can at least try to prevent as much as we can in order not to get those very nasty variants. And the way to do that is to vaccinate more or less all the people around the world. And I know vaccine hesitancy is a big issue. It's a big issue in the United States. It's a big issue in Europe, and hopefully people will inform themselves in a good way. And equally, I think all companies need to do the best also to make vaccines available for the low and middle income countries. The world is not safe if not everyone has the ability to get a vaccine. And that needs to be our common goal. We are not competing against each other. We are competing here against a very common enemy, and that enemy is the virus. So hopefully we will see more and more vaccines also going to the low and middle income countries. And that's clearly one of our big pledges as a company, to ensure a broad and equitable access of our vaccine.
Ruud, let's talk a little bit of the business part of this, which is commentary from your team at AstraZeneca, yourself, CEO, as well as reports I've read about the future of the vaccine business. I'm looking at a Reuters report from just this week about how your team at AstraZeneca is exploring different options. I'm reading through this and I'm wondering if I'm missing something. What are the different options? I mean, I know that this is a unique part of the business outside of a traditional path that AstraZeneca has taken in its drug business. Does that mean vaccines could go go separate? Does it combine with a different business? I mean, billion doses, more than 150, 170 countries, right? I mean, it seems by every definition this has been a success. Why turn it into something else or spin it off?
No, we are not even close to think about that piece. My remarks were related to the fact that more and more variants are coming to us, and I got a question about is this something you are working on? And I said yes, we are working on it. As what I'm doing now with you and your audience. I think our number one priority is very clear, Oliver, and that's to make sure that we are delivering all the doses we have promised to the world. Yes, we are proud about the 1 billion doses so far, but we still have the very big ambition to deliver another 1 billion doses before year end. And that's a huge effort of our manufacturing colleagues, our teams on the ground, and that's the number one priority. And whatever we will decide after that, we will see. But we are very excited and very committed in order to help the world, as we made that very clear now more than 1 year ago, when we had the pledge in order to ensure a broad and equitable access.
Okay. I saw a Telegraph report as well that said the vaccines unit could be split into different divisions or partnered with different vaccine manufacturers. Can you give me a thought on whether is that top of mind? It doesn't sound like that's top of mind, but it's still making its way through news stories that might be a future here.
Yeah, I think let's park that as pure speculation. It's not coming from us. It's the freedom of a reporter to write, and that's clearly something we're not thinking about. We are very focused on what I just told you and your audience in order to make sure that our highly effective and safe vaccine is getting distributed around the world. That's important, and that's our number one priority.
Okay, I appreciate that clarity, Ruud. Thank you for addressing that. Let's talk a little bit about the hopefully eventual post-COVID world. You've got a lot of drug pipelines now from Alexion that's working into the business. What's your priority here? Let's say the hypothetical, Ruud, here where we know that our vaccines work for the variants. Let's say you can kind of set the vaccine system on cruise control. What's your number one priority in that post-COVID environment?
Yeah, there are a few priorities. First of all, of course, we are still in the process of integrating Alexion, a fantastic company with a huge heritage in rare diseases. And we are excited. We are excited about the products, the impact on patients, and the capabilities we are bringing in our company. The second big priority is to continue to deliver strong growth for our company, but most importantly, the impact on patients. In my own business unit, Biopharma, we were absolutely thrilled earlier in the week with the approval of a new product for lupus. Lupus is a very difficult to treat disease. It's in most cases a very devastating disease. And I'm incredibly proud on our R&D team and the commercial global teams in order to bring this product over the finish line, because there is not a lot of innovation in the area of lupus. And this will clearly help patients with this disease. Equally, we have other big opportunities in chronic diseases. Despite all the progress we have seen in tens of years of discovery and development of medicines, we need to realize that there are areas where there's still a lot of improvement possible, like in chronic kidney disease. 700 million people in the world are suffering from kidney disease. And the end station of those patients is potentially dialysis. Everything we can do in order to prevent that is a huge win for those patients. And we are very committed as a company with a product like Farxiga to help those patients in order to have a better life. So those are the top priorities in the short term.
Ruud, I know this veers a little bit into kind of the balance sheet bottom line, but I'm curious your thoughts on whether or not any of these new drugs will crack through, say, 5% of revenue. Or right now, Tagrisso is still the predominance at 16%, and then you have tons and tons of drugs in the company that make up 3, 4, 2% of revenue. It seems like 5 is an interesting place to kind of get towards the higher end of what dominates that revenue stream. Any thoughts on how some of these new products might work their way through that list of drugs?
Yeah, no, it's another great question. Of course, as a healthcare company, although it sounds a little bit strange, yes, we want to generate sales. That's because it's important what we generate, and the profit is good, of course, for our shareholders, is good for our reinvestment in R&D. But let's not forget that after every dollar, there are patients, and that's our number one ambition, to do good for patients. Now, having said that, we have a couple of products which are on the verge in order to pass the $1 billion mark, which is a little bit of a magic mark in our industry. And the last one, or this year, we will see Fasenra, a biological medicine for the treatment of severe uncontrolled asthma. Phenomenal growth in the first 6 months of the year, over 30%. And that product is now moving to over $1 billion in the second half of the year. If I can come back for 1 second, Farxiga, we had the sales of more than $700 million in the second quarter. So that product is annualizing now to more than $3 billion for in the next 12 months. And then you are referring to Tagrisso, the absolute market leader in the treatment of non-small cell lung cancer with a certain mutation. Yeah, that product is on a high with a sales turnover between 4.5 and 5 billion. So AstraZeneca is extremely well placed in order to grow. And what we have announced last week is that investors, shareholders, can expect a double-digit growth in the next 4 or 5 years, even including the election acquisition.
Great stuff. Love to end on that note for the growth. Ruud, thanks a lot for the clarity here on these subjects, and looking forward to continuing the conversation with you. Hope you'll be back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ruud Dobber is the EVP of Biopharmaceuticals, President of Biopharmaceuticals at AstraZeneca.